Hello, good morning or good day to you all. Welcome to the Last Beam webinar. Just got feedback. Can you all hear me? Bas, maybe you can comment.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, thank you, because I saw a message sound. Okay, well, let's continue. Thank you all for joining the session. So today we will be presenting a new product which is being added to the Bosch PA portfolio, and specifically in context of the Presenza product family. So this is called the Last Beam series. It's an active column loudspeaker, and we are introducing today the full family of products of this. So before we dive in, let me quickly tell you that we are recording this webinar today. So afterwards, you can still review it to have another look at the things being presented, or if you have missed it, catch up later. If you have questions, please reserve them and put them in the chat. We will go through the chat at the end of the presentation, and we will try to answer everything as good as possible. And use the chat function for that in the right bottom corner of your WebEx UI. There you can write the question and make sure that you send it to all so that the presenters can read it to answer the question. So here you see this is the chat function, and please send it to all panelists. Yeah. So today myself, Maarten Wings, I'm marketing manager for public address voice alarm in EMEA, and I'm here together with my colleague Bas Beekman, who's application engineer for public address and voice alarm systems. So what we want to achieve today actually is that we give you an introduction to this new product family, that you understand which product components are part of this family and in which application is this product family used and what are the benefits of using it. So for that, we run through a few topics. So first, introduction and welcome, which we are doing right now. Then we will look at the product overview, application and benefits. This is a product which also relies on specification for projects. So we are also supporting that with some specification materials. We do a little bit of a deep dive more into the product details itself. And then also Bas will support with a short demonstration on the Last Beam electronic beam steering. Yeah, and afterwards we have to wrap up with the Q&A. So let's start. The Last Beam series is an active loudspeaker which actually falls in the concept of audio beyond safety, which we are running for Presenza. So as you probably are aware of, Presenza is a voice alarm system, but actually has excellent sound quality. So this voice alarm system can be used for much more than merely voice alarm. It can also really add business value to use cases that go beyond safety aspects. And the Last Beam series actually fits perfectly in this concept. Because it delivers excellent sound quality through the public address and voice alarm system, adding business value with additional use cases beyond merely voice alarm. So this is also what I would like to look at and how I want to position this a little bit for you to understand. So here you have actually two types of solutions. So you have the traditional solution and you have the Presenza-like solution. So very traditional is that you just have a voice alarm system, which is used for evacuation, and then very little additional use cases are covered with that. But there are, of course, a lot of customers who have need for more, and this is what we can do with Presenza. So next to the voice alarm itself, there is also an option to deliver excellent PA with good speech intelligibility, but also to add additional ambience to the facility, like playing background music or things like that. So Last Beam is an active loudspeaker range that is compatible with Presenza, and both of these products actually match very well in this concept. So let's go to the next slide. What you see here, for instance, is an example of a seminar room where we have multiple use cases coming together, where also the active loudspeaker can play a role. So imagine this is now a seminar room at a university or something like this. So there are a lot of things which go together here. So like you need to evacuate the building in case of emergency, but also during the break, maybe you play some live music, or sorry, some background music, which we can do through our APAs. We can also select audio sources with the wall control panel, but also during the live speech, there is a good audio needed to address the public. And this, for instance, the active loudspeakers can be used. So now imagine there is the stage where you see the presentation screen in the back of the room. And there on both of the sides, we would have the active loudspeakers installed to address the audience when lectures or presentations are taking place. So a full context, which is exceeding voice alarm use cases and enhancing that with other use cases where the active loudspeaker now is playing an additional role. So where are these kind of loudspeakers used? So here you have some applications, some with pictures, some written in text. So at transportation, oh, I hear there is some issue with the sound. Well, I don't know if I can solve that. Yeah, I hope it gets better. Let me just. Oh, the sound is perfect. Somebody else says. Okay, then let me just continue. So for transportation, of course, we have announcements on platforms, or we have announcements for gate calls or something like that being made in the terminal. So this is a location where such a product can play a role. Same goes for hospitals, that you have central halls, you have atriums, you have lecture areas. There such a product can be used, but also in commercial buildings like governmental buildings, convention center, conference centers, exhibition halls, everywhere where a large room is applicable and you need to address an audience or a crowd or a group of people like passengers. Other use cases like houses of worships, like mosques and churches, are also a target group for such a product. So last beam can be fitted indoor and outdoor. It is for commercial use cases, so not primarily an EN54 certified loudspeaker, because as you know, if a loudspeaker is active and the power is not coming from the PAVA system itself, then certification is not possible because the power source comes separately. However, coming as close as possible as you can to a safety application for such a loudspeaker is supervising it. And this is what we do. So the last beam is fully compatible with a 100-volt line and is using the end of line supervision boards, just as the EN54 certified loudspeakers are, like the ceiling loudspeakers, the wall loudspeakers, or something like that. So it's not EN54 certified, but as far as you can get it to being applicable to a safety application, that is catered for. So now let's have a look at the family introduction. So here you see 5 products which altogether build a family. So we start with the beam small version, which you see here on the. Let me take the laser. Which you see here. So this is a smaller unit that is actually used for smaller areas. So you see here, for instance, the example of a church. So here you have this niche part in the church, which is shorter range. So this would be perfect for such a small unit, which is covering typically up to 50 meters. But it is really nicely combined in this application, as you see, with the units that are delivering a longer coverage area, which are the larger units. Yeah, so this can go up to 70 meters if these units are stacked. We will look at that a little bit later. The large units are stackable to extend the range of the audio reach. So then we have a configuration interface. This unit, which is needed to configure the loudspeaker. We have some mounting brackets which are needed. So mounting brackets which go on the top and on the bottom of the loudspeaker. And then if you start stacking loudspeakers, then you need to have these brackets which are connecting the loudspeakers to be mounted on top of each other. And then we also, this is not listed as a product, but it's a color option. I want you to know. So if you have a certain need to have this loudspeaker in a different color because this is requested by the customer, then you can approach us and ask us if we can paint the color for you on the speaker. Okay, so a short overview, family members. So we have actually these loudspeakers. We have the shorter version, we have the longer version. So these loudspeakers actually inside have steerable beams. This is also giving an advantage. If you have electronic steerable beams, that gives you much more flexibility in directing the sound to the target audience. We will have a look at that a little bit later. So this is quite nice. We have either a 1, 2, or 4 beam steering option from any of these loudspeakers. Then, installation of these units is actually quite easy. First of all, because the units are quite light and quite small. If we compare that to the older versions that we had, that was a little bit more cumbersome. So these units are much more easy to handle. Also, they are equipped with these Phoenix connectors, so you can simply wire the connector and then you plug it into the loudspeaker without having the hassle of doing that at the loudspeaker itself. Yeah. Then we have a fault indication. So if there is a disruption on the 100 volt line, then we have a fault contact which can report that back to the public address voice alarm system Presenza. And to make it even easier, if you use the end of line board, you can simply mount it on the 100 volt loudspeaker line, where it is supervised by the end of line board, which you are using for the other Presenza loudspeakers as well. We have a nice configuration software. Bas, in the end, will also show a short demonstration of this on how you can use this to direct sound and also tune sound, that you get the best out of the audio quality that is delivered by the loudspeaker. And inside, we have high quality drivers for speech and music. And as mentioned, the coverage can really go from 15 to 70 meters. So you have a lot of options to efficiently cover a larger area. So, well, here you see one of the unique aspects is that compared to other column loudspeakers, we have a much longer range that we can cover. So this is one of the big benefits. If you look here in this larger area, for instance, there is a lot of area to cover. There, these speakers can really become handy. So here you see some comparison between some traditional solutions and the Last Beam active loudspeaker. So one of the aspects is that it is DSP controlled, and also that we can steer with electronic beams. So if you see here traditional loudspeakers, very often the alignment of the loudspeakers audio towards the audience is done by physical mechanical outlining. So the angle in which the loudspeaker is mounted is actually defining where the coverage and where the throw of the audio is. That is a limited directivity in that respect. If you look at the Last Beam, that's actually done differently. You mount a loudspeaker, and then through the configuration software, you are able to direct the cones which are inside the loudspeaker towards the audience. So with that, that gives you much more flexibility and gives you a much better option to deliver sound in the best possible manner. So this is a very mechanical approach And this is actually a software skilled approach. So here you have an example, for instance, how these loudspeakers can be used, and also how they actually can be cost efficient in a larger application. So first of it, you see here two examples where you have loudspeakers with shorter range. So you need to have actually many loudspeakers which you need to install in the facility, with also the chance of having a lot of rebreviation, which is not contributing to good speech intelligibility. Here on the second one, you see that it already gets a little bit better. But if you look at the power of the loudspeakers which the Last Beam series is offering, you see that we can really direct sound in a very proper manner. And we can also direct sound over longer distances. So this means with less units, we can actually very effectively target the audio over a longer range towards the audience, with limiting also reflections and reverberation, because we can really, target this audio beam, if you might say so, inside the premises, so that we can also achieve good SDIs with not too much equipment. Also, this was here is another example. Let's say we have an audio stand. So if we install one unit, so imagine here on the left side there is the unit mounted next to the presentation screen at the front of the auditorium. We actually can steer these beams, if you might call it like this, from one unit in different directions. So depending on the unit you have, you will have a different number of beams that you can steer. But you can, for instance, in this case, direct one beam to the upper part of the stage to address the higher sitting audience, and you can direct the lower beam to the lower sitting audience just from one unit. Where you normally would have mechanical alignment from the unit itself, this is now being done electronically, and also you have from one unit multiple steering directions that you can take. So this is much nicer solution for the customer actually, because he has less units on the wall, and also with one unit you can actually address multiple areas of the stage from just one installation point. Yeah. So then we come to the supervision of this product. So as I mentioned, it's not EN54, but it is supervised. That's as much as we can do with such a loudspeaker. And there are many options to do so. So here you see the 100-volt line from the very simplest version, number 1, which is this a single end-of-line supervision of the units, going on to an AB, a redundant line supervision, where you actually can even go from two amplifiers. So if one amplifier is lost, then the other one is still delivering sound, up to an A-class wired loop. So you see that the cable is coming back and then being monitored, or from one amplifier you have an A and a B throw, which is end of line supervised. So many different options. It's a 100-line supervision. Why is that? Because very often there is already existing cable in various scenarios, and with all these different options that we have, we are also set up well for a retrofit scenario. So if cable is already installed in the church, in the mosque, or wherever it is, where you want to avoid pulling new cable, you can choose any of these scenarios to install the new loudspeakers and use existing infrastructure. Yeah. Then there is another option. This is not using the 100-volt line, but this is actually using an RS485 audio bus. This is actually, if you don't have the amplifier too near to the area where you want to install the active loudspeakers, then you want to bridge some distance. And bridging distance could be done through the IP network. So on this remote location, you will install the audio module that we have from Presenza, which is delivering omnio audio, and from there we can interface into this module of the LASBeam family, and from here we can then run an RS485 supervised audio bus along the different active loudspeakers to get the audio delivered. So this is a different approach. The 100 volt line, of course, needs to start from the amplifier and will have some distance limitations. If you want to set off such an installation of loudspeakers remotely, you can also go into the field with the audio I/O module and then connect to the loudspeakers in a different way. Then, yeah, of course, this is a product which needs design and which needs specification and which needs end user recommendation and probably also needs listening to the product for convincing. So for this, we have a number of items. Of course, we will deliver training, how to configure, how to plan this product, also how to integrate it with Presenza. We can also support in simulations if there are larger applications where this is required. And of course, we are delivering a full set of items that is also needed in this context. Like we have A&E specs, we have the EASE files, we have BIM files, we have DWG for AutoCAD, and we also have 3D renderings. A full set of materials that can help you to make designs. And if you go on the link to the Kinfinity Group page and you go on LASBeam, there you can also find these different materials as downloads available for your project. So now we go a bit in the product details. So this is the first one. This is the LASBeam Small, a non-stackable version. So this one cannot be stacked. As I mentioned, it is for the shorter distances. It is mounted with these brackets to the wall, and it has a typical 15-meter range for PA background music, very compact, bracket mounted, 100 volt line under blind supervision, which is the default method. Yeah, so used for smaller areas to cover blind spots, nice frequency range from 70 kilohertz up to 18 kilohertz, dynamic range of 105 decibel, SPL at 25 meters of 92 dB. This has four 3.5-inch cone drivers, which are acting as one steerable beam. Yeah. 4 amplifier channels for each of these cones, each of them delivering 100 watts, and there is one DSP module for each of the channels. Yeah, it's compact and lightweight, 50 centimeters height only, 230 volt powered, small brackets for easy mounting. As mentioned, not EN50 for certified, but it is supervised. Yeah, and it can be used outdoor as well. And there is a 24 volt backup option as well. Then we need to change a little bit in the connectors of the device. If this is something which is required, then you can approach your sales contact to request this as a special. So then we go to the larger version, which is stackable, and depending on how much we stack, it will be a large, an extra large, or an extra large, and that is then ranging also from 25 up to 70 meters range. So we can stack it 5 times. That really becomes a very large column, and with that we can deliver up to longer ranges, public address and background music. Through this again 100 volt supervised solution. So used for large opening listening areas, also the same frequency range and dynamic range as the small version, a maximum SPL at 25 meters of 94 dB, but that also depends on how much you stack. I will look at the table on the next slide. So this has 8 3.5 cone drivers, and it has 1 or 2 steerable beams. So if you have the audience example that I just gave with audience sitting at the lower end of the stage and at the higher end of the stage, then you can direct one of the steerable beams to the top and one of the steerable beams to the lower end of the stage. So this is what these beams are for. 8 amplifier channels, or each of them 100 watt. DSP also here for each module. Still compact and light, 90 centimeters. 430 volt powered, also not certified but supervised, and it needs these brackets for mounting. Can also be used for outdoors, like I can imagine on a railway station or something like this. Probably we need to use it on the platform outdoors. And also this one has a 24 volt backup connection via our special group. So this is the table I was referring to. So depending on how you're going to stack it, the first one, as you see here, this is not stackable, but the other ones which we can stack. So 1 time, 2 time, 3, 4, 5 times stackable. So here you see the height. It goes up to 4.5 meter height when it's fully stacked. So that's going to be a large column. And this is then also delivering you the typical throw up to 70 meters. Yeah. And the maximum SPL at 25 meters, as you see, it is increasing because, of course, you are stacking more and more units. Yeah, so this is something, of course, which you then need to consider also in your planning when you are stacking those units to make sure that you have the right sound pressure level at the right distances. So this was a short overview of the product itself, the family, and a bit the USPs. So I think what the takeaway is for sure that it is now electronically steered, so that you can really deliver the right audio performance by electronic tuning instead of mechanical direction. And the nice aspect is that it is also end-of-line supervised on the presenter system, and it is also compatible to this field module to serve remote areas through the IP network. So now I would like to give the words to Bas to give a short demonstration of the last beam. So Bas, I will.
Yeah, can you make me host?
I will try to see if I can make you a host.
You can make me presenter. I can also do. Yeah.
Make present. Yes, now you can present.
Okay. I'll start where you ended, Maarten. You asked me to give a demo, and my first thought, okay, how to demo the excellent quality of a loudspeaker on a webinar. That looks to me impossible. So I think we could better look into one of your scenarios where we will look in further in the technical side of it. So if I just pick one of these examples you already gave to the audience, I would like to show them the A and B line with line supervision and fault supervision of the loudspeaker. And if we look deeper into that, we actually see, okay, you need to connect the wires correctly. So you have your A and B line from the loudspeaker channel. You connect them to your loudspeaker arrays, one or more, multiple, and you end up that line with an end-of-line module to monitor the line. But how then you monitor the loudspeaker if one of the loudspeaker is defective? Well, we'll look into that one as well. So when you did up your hardware, your wiring, of course, you need to align your setup, your hardware with the settings of the presenter. So at least in this case, an amplifier output 2. You will supervise the amplifier channel itself. And you also need to supervise your loudspeaker line. Then it will use these end-of-line units to detect if the line is still correctly, if it's not faulty. Of course, you also want to always monitor your overload of your output of your amplifier. And also you have to indicate what you're going to do. So if you had this single line, you set it to single line, A output only. In this case, we need to set the amplifier to a dual, so an A and B output. Also in the last beam, you need to set up, okay, what to expect there from an input from the amplifiers. So what kind of input do I get? And in this case, you can set it also to input A and B, and it will produce the sound coming from the A and B lines. If we look at the back of the loudspeaker, so again, on the left side here, you will see the A and the B output of our amplifier. The blue lines are indicating the B, and you have on top here your input, the 100-volt input, A and B, and not connected here. So A and B, the B line, and at the bottom we have an output, the same outputs, what is the same as the input from the 100 volts. So with these, you are actually passing through the 100 volts to the next speaker, and you end up with your end-of-line module. In this case, for the A line, we are going to use, of course, the A line input, but not the standard A line output. In this case, there is at the bottom a switched A line output, and this switched output will indicate or will disconnect the line if there is something going on in that speaker, in that last beam. So mains could be failing, inside there could be a failure, and this fault relay will cut off the 100-volt lines from A. So this line will be cut off if there is something wrong with this beam, or if there's something wrong here with a line. Eventually, this end-of-line module cannot respond anymore, so we get an A line of that amplifier channel fault. That's what we supervise with this end-of-line modules. So all these beams will have this relayed output connected, and we end up with an end-of-line module. So the lines are supervised, and each speaker is supervised by having this fault relay activated when there is something wrong. So let me show you what I've set up here. I will share my camera. Just a small setup to prove that what we just told is actually working. We have just set up a loudspeaker, call station, where you can indicate that there's something going wrong with your line. So it will light up if there's a fault detected. So for instance, I can now set up music in this area. So I play now background music over the A and B lines. So if we look at the back of the speaker, I have my A line. I have my B line, and I have these two end-of-line modules connected to the output connector for the B line and for a switched A line supervision. Everything is now running correctly. There's no fault indication. I can make announcements. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. So everything is running. But imagine that you have an A-line fault. Just by indicating now, I will disconnect him. And immediately you will see on the call station itself, you have an indication something is wrong in this zone, what we programmed here. And actually, when you look at the fault indication, it says indeed here, we have an end-of-line fault from output A on that amplifier. So this setup is working like it is intended to do when there's a line fault. I reconnect it. I can also reset this fault and everything will be okay. So in this case, it was a 100 volts line error that was created by me, and we got an error, but also indicating, let's say, there is a main fault or something is inside there is wrong. So I just disconnected my power input. So in this case, we have an end of line also from A, but also from B. So we have a complete, oh no, there's an A line output as well, because the B line is still there and it is still reaching the end of line board, but the A line is cut off by this fault relay of the last beam speaker. So we have exactly the same fault area to indicate that there is something wrong with this this channel with the last beams connected. Okay, we have sound. So end of line is back again, and we have no fault anymore. So going back to the presentation, we will stop my music, otherwise it will be annoying. Maarten also asked me to show you a little bit of the programming interface. So I just made a sample for this. In this case, you will see that we have a last beam L, and we just created an example for this one, showing you, let's say, the area what Maarten already showed in this presentation. So we have an audience that is sitting in a lecture room where there is a 5 meters distance where the teacher could walk around, and we have the listen area that is slightly going up. So you can actually set up your height of your speaker, which degrees it is tilted, but in this case it's not. The number of beams you want to create, and if you want to have the maximum SPL, or that you want as little as side lobes as possible, but that's all depending on the acoustics characteristics of your room. So if we show here the SPL that is calculated, you could have an outcome for these settings like this. If you want to have minimum side lobes, you will immediately see that it is have as effect on the complete setup of your system, of the output of the speaker. Sorry. You have beam settings. In this case, we selected 2 beams, so you can actually align these beams to the areas where you want to pinpoint them. In this case, there was only one audio area. Maybe you will have a second area, and then you completely can separate these beams by having them directly pinpointing to the correct area that you want to achieve with this one speaker. You could also say, I only have one beam. And also here, you can see that with one beam, you can also cover a large area like this audience up to 25 meters easily. And when you look at the simulation, you can actually see that you have a relatively constant output over the complete line. That's depending on your room, audio, reverberations, your audience area, etc., etc. So this is just an example of what you can achieve with 1 beam, 2 beam, 4 beam setup in a particular room. What I also showed you already is that you, in combination with your setup of the hardware, your setup of the presensor system, that you also choose one of these input functions. And what I just used right now was the input A plus B, because I had an A plus B setup, that it will produce the sound of the A and B line simultaneously. So if one fails, the other one still goes on. This will be reproduced by the beam, last beam itself. So that was the touch of a part of the demonstration. So
Okay, Bas,
yeah, I want to pinpoint to another part. So I would like to go to my next slide. There it is. So if you want to go if you are curious now and want to dive deeper, we have upcoming webinars in October where we would like to show you the, let's say, the real application. So really integrating with Presenter with all kinds of possibilities over there. And we have also one with the acoustical insights that will dive deeper into these beam steering and how this is working, and what the benefits are, and all these settings in this programming interface. So just stay tuned, I would say, and see for the invitations for these next webinars in October.